When it comes to music theory, I think one of the major problems is that people who are learning it, and often, unfortunately, I think people who teach it, have a basic misunderstanding of what music theory is and what it's for. I think that it's really a problem to think that music theory has rules, but there are certainly, obviously, when we're teaching music theory, guidelines or norms that we're pointing out that could absolutely be construed as rules. So let's just accept the premise, at least for the moment, for the sake of argument, that there are rules in music theory. There are rules in music theory in the same way that there are rules of grammar. And those rules are dictated by usage. So the way that we use a language has an effect on the rules of the language's grammar as it evolves over time. Nevertheless, we can still say that there are certain fundamental rules that are in place that are fairly consistent. If you're learning the rules of the grammar of a language, you might find yourself doing exercises like conjugating verbs, for instance. It's really useful, I think, if you're, for instance, composing a chorale in a music theory class, to not think of that as a compositional exercise, but to rather think of that as something like conjugating verbs. There are certain rules in place and certain ways of doing it that are the correct way, and that's what you're trying to learn under those circumstances. Whereas composing music might be more well analogized to writing poetry. Poets break, quote unquote, the rules of grammar all the time for artistic effect. So first, what we do is we learn the rules of the grammar of the language, we understand how the language behaves, and we know those rules. But then when we become creative, when we're trying to create an artistic product, in this case, a song, a musical composition, etc., we are doing something more akin to writing poetry. We are bending, flexing, and or outright breaking the quote-unquote rules of the grammar of music for artistic effect. But that doesn't mean that we're just doing what we're doing willy-nilly and that we don't know what those rules are. So when you enter a music theory class, or when you start to study music theory, it's really useful to think of, okay, I'm learning the grammar here. This is not a creative endeavor any more than conjugating verbs is a creative endeavor. Once I have mastered these skills, then I can embark on the creative endeavors. And I don't recommend mastering the skills first. You should be creative all along the way. But you should definitely keep a separation in your mind between the goal of a music theory exercise, which is generally not particularly creative, and the goal of writing a song or composing a piece of music, which is creative.